Welcome to Football Game Plan's FCS Kickoff, presented by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. I'm Emery Hunt, the czar of the playbook. Mike McCarthy is the producer behind the boards as we bring you our preview for the 2018 Southland Conference. Let's take a look at some of the key storylines heading into the season as we go into our 4-minute offense. There were some surprising changes at Stephen F. Austin this offseason, as earlier in the spring, then head coach Clint Conkey was suspended as they were conducting an internal investigation to a possible violation of university rules. Then, a few days ago, Conkey announced his resignation. That prompted defensive coordinator Jeff Bird to be named the interim head coach for the 2018 season. It's a great opportunity for Bird, who has been in college coaching since 2000 and who has a track record of success at each stop. Stephen F. Austin says that after the season, they'll reevaluate the leadership structure and make decisions from there. The Lumberjacks weren't the only team in the conference to have a coaching change. There were 4 other programs that hired new head coaches this offseason. Starting with the Demons of Northwestern State, they added a familiar face to the program in Brad Laird. Now, he was a legend at Northwestern State, quarterbacking the Demons from 1991 to 1995 and finished as the all-time passing leader in program history. He was promoted from defensive coordinator into the lead role and brings a lot of optimism to the program. Now, staying with the color purple and with the theme of a program hiring its own, the Central Arkansas Bears' new head coach Nathan Brown begins his first season in Conway as the head guy, but definitely not the first time being involved with the program. He was a quarterback there, winning Southland Conference Player of the Year honors in 2007 and in 2008, and will be looking to keep the program rolling in the right direction. Incarnate Word made some noise when they hired Eric Morris, who came over from Texas Tech after being the offensive coordinator there, and Morris, like Brown, they're both in their early 30s, making them the youngest head coaches in the Southland Conference. And finally, after head coach Ron Roberts resigned as the head coach of Southeastern Louisiana this past spring, Frank Selfo was hired to take over the program. Now, Selfo is coming over from UT San Antonio, where he was the offensive coordinator for the Roadrunners, and known for his tremendous work with quarterbacks over his coaching career. Selfo is looking to bring that same magic to Hammond, Louisiana. Last year, we saw the McNeese State Cowboys finish the season 9-2 and out of the FCS playoff picture completely. We were outraged about it then, and we still are now. However, that was last season, and this is this season. The Cowboys are looking to best their efforts last year and leave no doubt that they'll get into the postseason. There is no reason not to think that it can't happen, as head coach Lance Guidry has a strong team returning. And sticking with the theme of coaches, Sam Houston State's Casey Keeler has been the model of consistency in the Southland since coming over 4 years ago. He's gone 46-12 and hasn't missed the playoffs. And while the competition around the Bearcats has been significantly improving each and every year, there's no doubt that a lot of teams in the conference see them as the standard to live up to and to surpass. Keeler has done an excellent job as the Bearcats head coach. As we get ready to kick off the start of summer workouts and fall camp, we will give you a look around the conference at some of the conference's best, and we'll start by unveiling our all-conference team, beginning with the offensive side of the ball. Taking a look at our offensive preseason All-Southland Conference team, and this team should be able to average at least 40 points a game considering who's on this list here, and they are going to be well protected up front, led by 2 Nichols Colonels in Ryan Hanley and Chandler Arsenault. 2 Sam Houston State Bearcats are out there on the perimeter, and Davion Davis and junior Nathan Stewart. Stewart burst onto the scene as a true freshman, going for 1,000 yards exactly and 12 touchdowns. He followed that up last year as a sophomore with 72 receptions, over 1,600 yards receiving, and 14 touchdowns with an impressive 22.9 yards of reception. Stewart had a 200-yard game against Northwestern State last season and fell 2 yards short of another one against Houston Baptist. Moving over to the defensive side of the ball, and you see 6 Nichols Colonels here, and what a stout defense they had last season. Keep an eye on safety Corey Abraham. I think he's going to be fantastic as he closes out his collegiate career. McNeese State's linebacker BJ Blunt is a spectacular second-level defender. Last season, Blunt finished 3rd on the team in tackles with 43, 2 sacks, and 9.5 TFLs. He's going to be a big part of what they do defensively this year for the Cowboys and should garner some postseason All-American honors. And wrapping up our preseason All-Southland Conference team with the specialists, the McNeese State Cowboys also have 2 excellent specialists in kicker Gunnar Rayburn, who connected on 92% of his field goal attempts last season, and punter Alex Gelstein, who also averaged 40.1 yards a punt in 2017. Let's take a team-by-team look around the Southland, and we'll start with the McNeese State Cowboys. This will be one of the better rushing teams in the conference as they have a stacked backfield led by David Ham. Also, the Cowboys are one of the better defensive units within the Southland. Even though they have 5 starters returning on that side of the ball, the Cowboys do a great job of getting a lot of players involved, so there is a lot of experience there despite not being the starts. It should be another stellar year in Lake Charles for head coach Lance Guidry. Sam Houston State landed a really good quarterback transfer in Mike Dare, who steps into an ideal situation with the Bearcats, who are loaded offensively. Defense will always be the cause for concern for Coach Keeler, not because they don't have talent, but because of their offense. It scores so quickly that it could essentially wear down their defense. If this team can ever find the right balance between the two, they can easily bring home a national title to Huntsville, Texas. They'll definitely be in a hunt for one this season. Nichols has a lot of talent coming back to a team that broke through last year and hosted a playoff game. This time around, they're looking to make amends for what got them booted pretty quickly from said playoffs last year, which was turning the ball over. Can you protect the ball, and can you take the ball away are 2 major points of emphasis for the Colonels this upcoming season. Where they give you confidence is in the experience in which key personnel returns, especially at quarterback. If they can tie up those loose ends, they'll be really good. Head coach Tim Rebo has done a fantastic job in bringing this program back to national relevance. Keep an eye on the Abilene Christian Wildcats. Second-year head coach Adam Thorell is a winner, and last year had to be tough for him considering where he was coming from as a highly successful Division II head coach. This offseason, he went with the Bill Snyder Kansas State approach and hit the JUCO ranks very heavily in conjunction with a young talent that was developing on the roster. That makes the Wildcats a prime candidate to have an impressive turnaround. How well can they be along the offensive line or the line of scrimmage will determine how impressive of a turnaround that they'll have. Despite the coaching change, I think Stephen F. Austin is another sleeper team to keep an eye on this season. They'll be much better now that quarterback Foster Sawyer is healthy and ready to go to start the season. Where I think they'll contend this year is on the defensive side of the ball. They got better in that capacity last year, and now that Jeff Bird is taking over as head coach, expect that unit to lead from the front. So we'll see the Lumberjacks play much more consistent from week to week with a strong defense and an offense that can close out ball games. I'm expecting a winning season from the Jacks. The Central Arkansas Bears shouldn't expect as much of a drop-off despite losing some star players this past offseason and graduation. I think they'll retool and reload a bit more than rebuild. The cupboard isn't bare there, and new head coach Nathan Brown will inject some youthful energy and philosophies into this ball club. Finding and settling in on a starter at quarterback will be the goal this summer. Brown knows quarterback, so I expect whoever that guy will end up being, he'll do just fine. And we'll learn a lot about the Bears after September, as they have 3 of their first 4 games on the road against Tulsa, Southeastern Louisiana, and Sam Houston State. Northwestern State should have a lot of optimism as they head into the season. They closed out last year winning 3 of their last 4 games and boast a very good defense coming into this season. New offensive coordinator Brad Smiley was an excellent hire, and he has a couple of toolsy quarterbacks to work with behind a stout offensive line. That's a recipe for success. The back 7 on defense will be a work in progress, but overall, I think what we saw last year from the Demons to end the season is more than just an anomaly. They'll be a very competitive bunch in 2018. The Southeastern Louisiana Lions should be able to run the football once again this year. Their run game effectiveness resembles that of McNeese State, may be even better in my opinion. Defense is where head coach Frank Selfo will have his work cut out for him. They're replacing some key contributors in the secondary, and we'll have to shore up the back end pretty quickly because that's one area of your football team in this conference where you can't lack. So it'll be interesting to see how close the Lions can be to last year's 6-3 conference record. The incarnate word Cardinals should be much improved on offense with the hire of Eric Morris. We know they'll toss the ball around the yard a lot, and having Cody Edwards back into the fold at wide receiver is going to be huge for their offense. All eyes will be on the defense, especially the pass defense. That's where they struggled last season, and that'll be where a lot of the attention will be this summer. With the practice they'll get against their own offense, it's safe to say that they'll be much better this upcoming season on the back end. Second-year head coach Mike Schultz will have a lot of experienced football players on his hands with the Lamar Cardinals. They were relatively young last season, and we all know how that can be tough for a college football program to find consistent success game to game. This year's second year in the system and in the program should yield better results. How much better will depend on the Cardinals' ability to sustain drives on offense. Look for a young defense to be better, and if the offense can pay it forward by rewarding them with touchdowns, the Cardinals will find the improvement that they're looking for. And finally, the Houston Baptist Huskies are still trying to find their footing in the Southland Conference. I think head coach Vic Shealy has recruited well, and it's about getting the talent to play up to the standard needed to win within this conference. Offensively is where you want to see them make significant strides this upcoming season. The defense has playmakers, in my opinion, especially in the secondary, but can they keep getting put in bad situations each and every week? And with the new offensive and defensive coordinator brought in this winter, the hope is that both sides grow together equally and it starts to translate into wins. So that's a wrap from Football Game Plan's FCS Kickoff. Be sure to follow us on all of our social media accounts, and don't forget to check out and subscribe to the FCS Opening Drive podcast on iTunes and also on SoundCloud, where Dave Hashagen and myself dive deeper into the world of the FCS. And don't forget to subscribe to the Football Game Plan Network on YouTube, where you can find all of our FCS video content at youtube.com/footballgameplan.